Hello, travelers, and welcome. You've found a quiet place to rest, where stories unfold slowly, and the world moves at a gentler pace. Tonight, there's nowhere you need to be, and nothing you need to do. Just settle in, get comfortable, and allow the journey ahead to carry you calmly from place to place, breath to breath. Whenever you're ready, let's begin. The night does not arrive suddenly in Glasgow. It settles gradually, like a shawl drawn gently across the shoulders of the city. Street by street, the sounds soften. Engines quiet, footsteps slow. By the time you reach Glasgow, Queen Street Station, the day has already loosened its grip, and the city feels ready to let you go. You enter the station through wide doors that close quietly behind you, sealing off the outside world. Inside, the ceiling arches high overhead, an iron and glass canopy that holds the remaining warmth of the day. Light pools softly across the stone floor, reflected in long, calm streaks. The space feels protective, almost hushed, as though it understands the nature of night journeys and honors them with silence. There is no rush in your movement. You walk slowly, guided by signs that glow gently rather than shout. The departure board flickers with steady certainty, its letters rearranging themselves without drama. Somewhere along the platform, a low announcement echoes briefly, then fades, its words unimportant now. Shops are closed, metal shutters pulled down. A cafe counter sits clean and orderly, cups stacked, the faint scent of coffee lingering in the air like a memory. Benches wait beneath warm lights, empty and patient. The station feels like a threshold, not fully of the city anymore, not yet of the journey. When you reach the platform, the train is already there. It rests along the track with a quiet confidence, dark metal absorbing the station lights rather than reflecting them sharply. The windows glow from within, revealing a calm interior. Rows of seats waiting without expectation. The train feels less like a machine and more like a vessel prepared to carry you gently away. You step aboard, and the air changes subtly. Inside, the temperature is steady, comfortable. The sounds of the station become distant, muted by glass and steel. The seat beneath you feels familiar, even if you have never sat in it before. Firm, supportive, shaped by countless travelers who trusted it through the night. You settle in, placing your bag at your feet, letting your shoulders relax. The act of sitting feels final in a comforting way, as though you have made a decision that requires nothing further from you. Around you, other passengers do the same, each wrapped in their own quiet rituals. A man across the aisle folds his coat neatly on his lap. A woman, a few rows ahead, gazes out the window, her reflection merging with the lights beyond the glass. Further down the carriage, someone has already closed their eyes, breathing slow and even. No one speaks. Words would feel unnecessary here. The doors close with a gentle, decisive sound. Beneath the floor, the train stirs. A low hum rises, steady and calm, like a deep breath drawn in preparation. When the train begins to move, it does so without urgency. There is no jolt, no sudden lurch, only a gradual gathering of motion, a smooth transition from stillness to flow. The platform glides past the window, lights stretching into soft lines. Then the station itself recedes, swallowed by darkness, and the city of Glasgow begins to unfold around the tracks. At first, the train threads its way through dense urban corridors. Buildings stand close on either side, their windows glowing faintly. Streets pass beneath bridges, cars moving slowly below, headlights tracing brief arcs of light that vanish as quickly as they appear. The geometry of the city feels familiar, orderly, shaped by human intent. The rhythm of the rails establishes itself early, a consistent pattern beneath the movement. Each section of track passes beneath the wheels with reassuring regularity. The sound is neither loud nor intrusive. It simply exists, anchoring the journey, offering something steady for your thoughts to rest upon. Gradually, the city begins to loosen its hold. Buildings grow shorter, spaced farther apart. Brick and stone give way to patches of darkness where trees gather. Street lights appear less frequently now, their pools of light separated by longer stretches of shadow. You pass through neighborhoods where houses cluster quietly together. Garden lies still behind low fences. Curtains are drawn. A single porch light burns steadily, illuminating a doorway for no one in particular. The train moves past without disturbing the calm, a silent observer slipping through the edges of domestic life. The tracks curve gently, following routes chosen long ago, routes that learned the shape of the land rather than forcing it into straight lines. You feel the curve in your body as a subtle sway, a motion that encourages relaxation rather than alertness. Water appears beside the tracks, first as narrow channels reflecting fragments of light, then as broader stretches that mirror the dark sky. A canal runs alongside the train for a time, its surface smooth and unbroken. The reflection of passing lights shivers briefly, then settles again, The air feels cooler here, cleaner. Even inside the carriage, you sense the shift. The city has thinned enough now that the night can breathe more freely. Trees line the tracks, their branches forming soft, interwoven shapes against the darkness. At a small station, the train slows. The platform is modest, lit by a handful of lamps that glow warmly against the night. A sign stands quietly, its lettering pale and reflective. One person waits, coat pulled close, hands tucked into pockets. The doors open, close, and the train continues on, leaving the station to return to silence. Inside the carriage, time begins to stretch. Minutes lose their edges. The outside world flows past in a steady, uninterrupted stream, and your mind follows its lead. Thoughts drift in and out without insistence. You notice them, then let them go. The land begins to rise almost imperceptibly. Hills form gentle silhouettes against the sky, barely visible, but unmistakably present. The train climbs without effort, its engine adjusting quietly beneath you. Forests grow denser, trees standing closer together, their trunks blurring into vertical patterns as the train moves. Mist gathers in low places, drifting across the tracks in pale ribbons. The train's lights catch it briefly, illuminating countless tiny droplets before they dissolve back into darkness. The air carries the scent of damp earth and leaves, a smell that speaks of open land and quiet weather. Another station slips past, smaller still, its lights glowing for no waiting passengers. The train acknowledges it with a gentle slowing, then moves on, leaving the place untouched. As the distance from Glasgow grows, so does the sense of release. The city feels far behind now, not as a memory, but as something gently set down. The journey has fully claimed you. The steady rhythm of the rails, the darkened windows, the slow passage of land, all of it works together, easing you into a deeper calm. The night outside thickens, wrapping the train in quiet. You settle further into your seat, breathing slow and even, carried onward toward the Highlands, one smooth mile at a time. The train continues northward, and with every passing minute, the sense of distance from the city deepens. Glasgow no longer lingers at the edges of your awareness. Its streets, its lights, its steady daytime pulse have all been set down gently, like a coat removed at the end of a long day. What remains now is motion, darkness, and the quiet assurance of the rails beneath you. Outside the window, the landscape begins to open and breathe. The houses thin until they stand alone, then disappear altogether. In their place, fields stretch out on either side of the tracks, their boundaries marked only by low stone walls or hedgerows that dissolve into shadow. The ground here feels older, less shaped by urgency, as though it has been content to remain exactly as it is for a very long time. The train moves steadily, never fast, never slow, just enough to keep the journey flowing. The sound of the wheels becomes more pronounced now, echoing faintly across open space. Each gentle clatter feels distinct, then blends seamlessly into the next, forming a continuous rhythm that carries you forward. You notice how your body responds without instruction. Your breathing lengthens. Your jaw loosens. The small muscles around your eyes relax. There is nothing you need to watch closely. Nothing you need to anticipate. The world outside unfolds at a pace that requires no effort from you at all. Water returns beside the tracks, this time more openly. A river runs parallel for a while, its presence suggested by the darker expanse beside the rails and the way the air feels cooler, slightly damp. You cannot see the water clearly, but you sense its movement, steady and unhurried, mirroring the train's own quiet progress. From time to time, the train crosses over smaller bridges. The sound changes subtly as the wheels pass from earth to metal and back again. Each crossing is brief, marked only by a soft shift in tone. Yet it adds texture to the journey, a gentle reminder that the land beneath you is varied and alive. The night sky feels broader here. Away from the city's glow, darkness takes on depth rather than emptiness. Clouds drift slowly overhead, their shapes suggested by slight variations in tone. When the moon appears between them, it casts a muted silver light across the fields, just enough to reveal the contours of the land before slipping away again. Inside the carriage, the quiet deepens. One by one, small movements settle. A coat is adjusted. A head leans gently against the window. Someone shifts their feet, then becomes still again. These sounds are soft and infrequent, never breaking the calm, only reinforcing the sense that everyone aboard has surrendered to the same gentle rhythm. The train approaches another small station. This one feels even more modest than the last. A single platform light glows against the dark, illuminating a narrow strip of concrete and a simple sign. No one waits here tonight. The train slows out of habit, out of respect, then continues on, leaving the place exactly as it was found. Beyond the station, the land begins to change again. Trees gather closer to the tracks, forming stretches of woodland where branches arch overhead and darkness deepens. The sound of the train becomes more contained here, wrapped by trunks and leaves, softened as though absorbed by the forest itself. The scent of earth grows stronger, carried faintly into the carriage through unseen currents of air. It is the smell of damp soil, fallen leaves, and moss. A scent that belongs to places where the ground remains cool and shaded even during the day. You breathe it in without thinking, your body recognizing it as something natural and calming. The train curves gently through the woods, following the land's quiet guidance. Each curve introduces a slight sway, a rocking motion that feels almost like being carried on water. Your body responds instinctively, sinking a little deeper into the seat, accepting the movement rather than resisting it. As the forest thins, open land returns, this time shaped by low hills. They rise gradually from the darkness, their slopes smooth and unbroken. Even without clear visibility, you sense their presence, the way the air feels heavier, the way the sound of the train changes as it moves through shallow cuttings and along embankments. The Highlands are beginning to announce themselves now, not dramatically, but with quiet certainty. This is land that does not need to impress. It simply exists, patient and enduring, and the train passes through it as a respectful guest. Water appears again, broader this time, stretching away from the tracks into darkness. A loch lies beside the route, its surface calm and still. When the moonlight touches it, the reflection trembles faintly, then settles back into smoothness. The loch feels vast, even unseen, holding the night within it. You find your gaze resting on the window, not searching for detail, but simply allowing shapes and movement to pass. Your eyes grow heavy, lids lowering slightly, then lifting again. There is no need to fight the pull of rest. The journey will continue, whether you watch it or not. The train glides on, mile after mile, its presence marked only by sound and motion. Time becomes less defined here. The distinction between moments softens, replaced by a continuous flow that carries you gently forward. Another bridge passes beneath you, longer this time. The darkness below feels deeper, more open. You imagine water moving far beneath the tracks, carving its own path through the land, indifferent to the passing train above. As the route continues, the hills draw closer together, forming the early shapes of valleys. The train follows these natural corridors, tracing paths shaped by ancient forces. You feel sheltered now, enclosed by land that rises on either side, even if you cannot see it clearly. The air cools further, and a faint mist begins to gather near the tracks. It drifts in slow, deliberate movements, illuminated briefly by the train's lights before dissolving back into shadow. The world outside becomes softer, edges blurred, details less important. Inside, the carriage remains steady and warm. The contrast between interior and exterior deepens the sense of comfort. You are held, protected, carried forward through the night without effort. Your thoughts slow almost to stillness. When they arise, they do so gently, without urgency, and fade just as easily. The rhythm of the rails continues its quiet work, guiding you deeper into rest as the train carries you farther into the highlands. The train carries on through the widening valleys, and the sense of enclosure from the forest slowly gives way to a broader, deeper quiet. Here, the land feels sculpted rather than crowded, shaped patiently by water and time. Even in darkness, you can feel the openness, the way the air moves more freely, the way sound travels farther before fading. The tracks now follow the natural lines of the terrain with greater devotion. Long, gentle curves trace the edges of rivers you cannot fully see, but know are there. Their presence is suggested by the steady hush that rises and falls beneath the rhythm of the rails, a soft undercurrent that blends seamlessly with the train's motion. You imagine the water moving below, guided by gravity and ancient paths, indifferent to the passage of the train above. In this way, the journey feels shared rather than imposed. The train does not interrupt the landscape. It participates in it. As the route progresses, the valleys deepen. Slopes rise more clearly on either side, their forms hinted at by subtle changes in darkness. The air feels heavier now, cooler, carrying a dampness that speaks of proximity to water and stone. The scent of earth becomes richer, layered with moss and wet rock. Inside the carriage, the warmth remains constant. The light above you glows softly, never flickering, never demanding attention. It creates a small, stable world within the vastness outside. You feel grateful for this balance, the contrast between movement and stillness, between exposure and shelter. The train glides through long stretches where there are no lights at all. Darkness presses gently against the window, not threatening, simply complete. Your reflection fades from the glass, replaced by a sense of being suspended within the night itself. At intervals, the train passes through shallow cuttings where rock walls stand close on either side. The sound changes again, becoming slightly sharper, briefly echoing back toward you before softening once more as the land opens. These moments feel like breaths, in, then out, marking the steady progress through varied terrain. You notice how your awareness narrows pleasantly. The world reduces itself to simple elements: the gentle sway of the carriage, the sound of rails, the cool presence of night beyond the glass. Everything else feels distant and unimportant. Another small station approaches, announced not by noise, but by the gradual appearance of light. A platform emerges from the darkness, modest and unadorned. A sign stands quietly beneath a lamp, its lettering pale and reflective. No one waits here tonight. The train slows briefly, acknowledges the place, and moves on. Beyond the station, the land begins to assert a stronger presence. The shapes of mountains grow clearer, their mass felt even when unseen. The valleys tighten, then release, guiding the train through a rhythm of narrowing and widening space. You feel as though you are being carried deeper into something ancient and enduring. Water returns again, this time closer, more insistent. The train runs alongside a river whose course twists and turns through the valley. Occasionally, the sound of water rises clearly enough to be heard above the rails, a quiet rush that speaks of steady movement rather than force. Bridges appear more frequently now. Each crossing brings a subtle change in vibration, a brief lightness as the train passes over open space. Beneath you, darkness drops away, holding unseen depths. The sensation is fleeting but distinctive, adding texture to the journey. Mist gathers more thickly here, clinging to the lower ground and drifting upward along the slopes. It moves slowly, deliberately, as though unhurried by the passing train. When the lights catch it, the mist glows softly, then dissolves again into shadow. The highlands feel fully present now. This is no longer a transition, but a state of being. The land holds the train gently but firmly, guiding it along routes that feel inevitable. You sense that these paths existed long before rails were laid, long before engines learned to follow them. Your body responds to this deepening sense of place. Your breathing becomes slower still, deeper, more regular. Each exhale feels like a release, each inhale like quiet acceptance. The seat supports you without pressure, allowing you to rest fully into it. Inside the carriage, the remaining signs of wakefulness fade. A page is turned softly, then closed. A light is dimmed. A head settles more comfortably against a cushion. These small gestures happen without announcement, part of a shared, unspoken agreement to surrender to the night. Outside, The land rises higher now. The slopes feel steeper, the valleys more defined. You imagine peaks standing watch above, their outlines lost in cloud and darkness. Even unseen, they lend a sense of gravity and stillness to the journey. The train curves steadily, following the contours of glens carved by long-vanished ice. The movement feels smooth and deliberate, never abrupt. Each curve is anticipated and answered with a gentle sway that rocks you slightly, encouraging rest. Time stretches further. You could not say how long you have been traveling through this section of land, and it no longer matters. The journey is measured not in minutes, but in sensations. The deepening quiet, the steady rhythm, the gradual release of thought. A longer bridge carries the train across a wider span. The sound beneath you opens briefly, hollow and resonant, then closes again as the wheels return to solid ground. You imagine a river far below, winding through darkness, continuing its own endless journey. As the train moves on, the air grows cooler still. A faint chill brushes the window, though inside you remain comfortably warm. The contrast sharpens your awareness of the shelter the carriage provides, and with it comes a deeper sense of ease. Lights appear faintly ahead, scattered and low, hinting at a larger settlement resting within the valley. They do not yet resolve into streets or buildings, but their presence marks a subtle shift. You sense that Fort William lies ahead, still some distance away, waiting patiently at the meeting of land and water. The train does not hurry toward it. Instead, it continues at the same calm pace, allowing the anticipation to remain soft and distant. There is comfort in this unhurried approach, in knowing that arrival will come naturally, without effort or demand. The rhythm of the rails remains steady, unwavering. It carries you forward through deepening valleys and thickening mist, toward mountains that shape the night itself. You rest within that rhythm now, held gently as the journey continues. The train moves deeper into the heart of the Highlands, and the sense of arrival begins long before any station comes into view. It begins as a subtle awareness, a quiet shift in the way the land holds itself. The valleys feel broader now, yet more sheltered. The mountains rise with a calm authority, their presence unmistakable even when hidden by darkness and cloud. You feel them before you see them. The air grows cooler, heavier, carrying the quiet gravity of stone and elevation. The rhythm of the rails remains steady, but the sound seems to settle differently here, absorbed by vast slopes and distant ridgelines. Each gentle clatter feels softened, as though the land itself is listening. Outside the window, darkness layers upon itself. The mist thickens, drifting in slow, deliberate movements across the tracks. It gathers in the low ground and curls upward along the sides of unseen hills. When the train's lights touch it, the mist glows faintly, then dissolves again, leaving only suggestion behind. Inside the carriage, the calm has deepened into something almost tangible. Breathing around you is slow and even. Bodies are still. The quiet is not empty, but full of motion carried without effort, full of the shared understanding that this journey asks nothing more from you than presence. The train follows the contours of the land with care. Curves become more frequent now, tracing the edges of glens shaped long ago by ice and water. Each turn brings a gentle sway, a rocking motion that feels instinctively soothing. Your body responds without thought, sinking further into rest. Water is never far here. You sense it running alongside the tracks, sometimes close, sometimes below, always moving with the same patient persistence as the train. Rivers wind through the darkness, their voices rising briefly where the land opens, then fading again as the terrain tightens. A bridge carries the train across a wide span. Beneath you, the darkness opens fully, holding unseen depths. For a moment, the sound beneath the wheels becomes hollow and resonant, then settles back into its familiar rhythm as solid ground returns. The transition is smooth, almost ceremonial. Beyond the bridge, the land begins to open once more. The valley broadens, and with it comes a faint scattering of lights. They appear at first like distant stars, low and warm, resting quietly against the dark. These are not city lights, not crowded or insistent. They are few, measured, belonging to a place that rests rather than buzzes. You know now that Fort William is near. The town does not announce itself loudly. It reveals itself gently, light by light, shape by shape. Streets remain mostly unseen, but their presence is felt in the spacing of the glow, in the way the darkness organizes itself around human settlement. The land here feels settled, grounded, embraced by mountains that rise protectively around it. Somewhere beyond the darkness, Ben Nevis stands watch. You cannot see its summit, nor even its full form, but you feel its mass shaping the night air. It lends a sense of stillness and permanence to everything around it, a reminder of time measured not in hours, but in ages. The train begins to slow, almost imperceptibly at first. The rhythm of the rails stretches, spacing itself slightly wider. The motion remains smooth, unhurried, as though the train itself is reluctant to disturb the calm it has carried this far. Inside the carriage, a few passengers stir. Not awake, not fully asleep, but gently shifting as the body senses change. A shoulder adjusts. A foot moves slightly. Then, stillness returns. The station lights of Fort William come into view, modest and welcoming. They cast soft pools of light onto the platform, illuminating stone and metal without glare. The train glides alongside, aligning itself with practiced ease. When it comes to rest, it does so quietly. There is no abrupt stop, no sharp sound, just a gradual easing into stillness, a final settling of weight and motion. The engine hums softly beneath the floor, then steadies. The doors open, releasing a breath of cool highland air. It carries the scent of water and stone, clean and grounding. A few passengers rise and move toward the exit, their footsteps unhurried, their voices low or absent altogether. The night seems to absorb them as they step onto the platform. Others board quietly, nodding to no one in particular, bringing with them the faint chill of the outside world. They find their seats and settle without fuss, as though guided by habit and the unspoken agreement of night travel. You remain seated, aware that this is not an ending, but a pause. Fort William is a threshold, a place of gathering and dispersal, where journeys overlap briefly before continuing onward in different directions. Outside, the town rests. Beyond the station, streets lie quiet. Somewhere nearby, water meets shore. Mountains loom in the darkness, shaping the silence. The night feels complete here, balanced between movement and stillness. The doors close once more, sealing the carriage in warmth. The engine hum deepens slightly, preparing to move again. The train does not hurry. It allows the moment to linger, honoring the pause. Then, with the same gentle confidence that carried it from the city, the train begins to move. Fort William slips away, lights stretching briefly across the window before dissolving into darkness. The route ahead bends westward now, toward quieter land, toward the coast and the open sea. The highlands hold you a little longer as the train continues, guiding you deeper into night. You settle once more into the rhythm of the rails, breathing slow and even, thoughts soft and distant. The journey has not ended. It has simply changed shape. Here, at the close of this long passage through land and shadow, you rest within the motion, carried forward without effort, ready to drift deeper as the train moves on. The train leaves Fort William behind with the same calm confidence that carried it through the mountains. There is no sudden acceleration, no sharp change in sound. Instead, there is a gentle gathering of motion, a quiet agreement between engine, rail, and land that the journey will continue as it always has, steadily, patiently, without urgency. Outside the window, the last lights of the town stretch briefly, then soften, then disappear altogether. Fort William settles back into its valley, embraced by darkness and mountain shadow. Ahead, the night opens once more, wide and expectant. The route now turns westward, following the natural curve of the land. The train traces the edge of Loch Isle, though you cannot see its full expanse in the dark. You sense it, instead, the openness beside the tracks, the way the air feels broader, the way sound seems to travel farther before fading. Water lies close here, resting quietly under the night sky. Occasionally, moonlight breaks through the clouds and brushes the loch's surface with pale silver. The reflection trembles slightly as the train passes, then settles again into stillness. The moment is fleeting, but it leaves an impression, like a thought that drifts through the mind just before sleep. The carriage remains hushed. Most of the passengers are now fully at rest, bodies softened by the long rhythm of travel. A blanket is adjusted. A head tilts gently toward the window. Breathing deepens, slow and even, filling the space with a quiet sense of shared calm. The train moves along the shoreline with care, following a path shaped by water and stone. On one side, the loch stretches outward into darkness. On the other, slopes rise gently, their forms hinted at by subtle changes in shadow. The balance feels deliberate, as though the train is held between elements, guided by both. The soundscape shifts subtly here. The steady clatter of the rails remains, but beneath it, you sense the presence of water, a distant, low hush that blends seamlessly with the motion of the train. Together, they form a layered rhythm, complex yet soothing, carrying you deeper into rest. As the route continues, the land narrows briefly, and the train passes through cuttings where rock walls stand close on either side. The sound sharpens for a moment, echoing faintly, then softens again as the space opens. Each transition feels smooth, almost ceremonial, marking the train's progress through varied terrain. Mist gathers along the water's edge, drifting slowly across the tracks. The train's lights illuminate it briefly, revealing countless tiny droplets suspended in the air before they dissolve back into darkness. The world outside becomes soft and impressionistic, edges blurred, details unnecessary. You feel your awareness narrowing further now. Thoughts arise less frequently, and when they do, they carry no weight. They pass through like clouds across the moon, leaving the sky unchanged. Your attention returns easily to the gentle sway of the carriage and the steady rhythm beneath your feet. The train approaches a small station along the loch. A single platform light glows warmly against the dark, illuminating a sign and a narrow strip of ground. The train slows briefly, doors opening and closing quietly, then moves on. The station recedes into stillness, as though it had never been disturbed. Beyond the station, the route bends slightly inland. The presence of water remains, but it is less immediate now, felt rather than seen. The land rises gradually, slopes forming gentle shoulders that guide the train forward. Trees gather along the tracks, their silhouettes tall and still. The air feels cooler here, heavier with moisture. Even within the warmth of the carriage, you sense the change. It is the kind of air that belongs to places shaped by weather and time, places where the land and sky remain in close conversation. The train glides onward, following the quiet logic of the Highlands. Each mile passes without announcement, without demand. Time stretches again, loosening its hold, allowing you to drift within the movement. Ahead lies Rannoch Moor, though it will not reveal itself all at once. Its presence is felt long before it is seen, announced by a subtle widening of space, a change in the way the darkness holds itself. The train continues at the same steady pace, preparing to cross one of the most remote stretches of the journey. You settle deeper into your seat, breathing slow and even, carried forward along the edge of water and into the open, quiet beyond. The night holds you gently as the train moves on. The transition into Rannoch Moor is not marked by signs or sudden changes. It announces itself quietly, through absence rather than presence. Trees thin until they no longer form lines along the track. Hills recede, their slopes lowering into wide, open ground. The land spreads outward in all directions, broad and patient, holding the night with an unbroken calm. The train continues at the same steady pace, but the sensation of movement changes. Here, there are no close boundaries, no enclosing valleys or forests to shape the sound. The rhythm of the rails travels farther, echoing softly across open space before dissolving into the dark. It feels as though the train is moving through something vast and listening. Rannoch Moor stretches wide beneath the night sky, a high plateau shaped by ancient forces. Even without clear visibility, you sense its openness, the way the darkness feels expansive rather than deep, the way the air seems to rest rather than flow. This is land that does not hurry, land that has learned patience over thousands of years. The tracks cut a deliberate line through the moor, raised slightly above the surrounding ground. Beneath them, peat and stone hold the memory of water, slowly shifting with the seasons. Small lochans lie scattered across the landscape, their surfaces smooth and dark, absorbing what little light reaches them. Occasionally, moonlight slips through breaks in the cloud cover, revealing brief glimpses of water and low ground. The reflections are muted, understated, never bright. They appear, linger for a moment, then fade, leaving the land unchanged. Inside the carriage, the quiet feels complete. There is no sense of being watched, no pull from the outside world. The remoteness of this place creates a rare kind of comfort, the feeling that nothing is required of you, that nothing will interrupt the slow unfolding of the night. The train glides across long stretches where there are no stations, no roads, no visible signs of habitation. This isolation does not feel empty. Instead, it feels full of space, full of time. You imagine the moor extending outward beyond the reach of the rails, continuing uninterrupted beneath cloud and starlight. The sound of the train becomes the defining element here. Each gentle clatter, each low vibration is distinct against the silence. The rhythm is steady, unwavering, a constant thread woven through the vastness. It anchors you, giving shape to time in a place where time otherwise feels suspended. Your body responds deeply to this environment. Muscles soften further. Breathing slows until it feels almost automatic, effortless. Thoughts grow rare, and when they arise, they carry no narrative, no urgency. They dissolve before fully forming. Mist gathers low across the moor, drifting in thin layers close to the ground. It moves slowly, guided by subtle changes in temperature and elevation. When the train's lights touch it, the mist glows faintly, revealing the contours of the land for a heartbeat before returning to shadow. The train crosses a series of small bridges, each one barely noticeable except for the slight change in sound. Beneath them, narrow channels of water weave through peat and stone, continuing their quiet work, unseen. These crossings come and go without emphasis, part of the steady progression across the moor. You sense the altitude here, the way the air feels thinner, cooler. Even within the warmth of the carriage, there is a subtle crispness that speaks of elevation and exposure. This is land shaped by wind and weather, by long winters and brief summers, by endurance rather than abundance. The moor holds the train gently, allowing it passage without resistance. There are no sharp curves here, no sudden changes in direction. The tracks stretch forward with quiet determination, guiding the train through one of the most remote places on the journey. Time feels especially fluid now. You could not say how long the train has been crossing Rannoch Moor, and the question itself feels irrelevant. Minutes and miles lose their meaning here, replaced by a continuous sense of being carried forward. Inside the carriage, the warmth and stillness create a cocoon-like calm. The contrast between the exposed land outside and the sheltered interior deepens your sense of ease. You are aware of the vastness beyond the glass, but you feel no need to engage with it actively. It exists, and that is enough. The train continues onward, unwavering. The moor stretches on, patient and unchanging. In this place of wide horizons and minimal detail, the mind finds little to hold on to, and so it rests. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, the openness begins to shift. The land hints at subtle undulations, slight rises and falls that suggest the moor will not last forever. The train remains steady, preparing quietly for the transition that lies ahead. You remain deeply settled now, carried across this vast, silent landscape, the rhythm of the rails guiding you through a place where time feels suspended and rest comes easily. The change comes so gradually that you almost do not notice it at first. After the long, open stillness of Rannoch Moor, the land begins to gather itself again. The wide, suspended silence softens, replaced by subtle variation. The ground rises and falls more distinctly now, forming gentle contours that guide the train forward. The rhythm of the rails remains unchanged, but the way sound moves through the night shifts. It no longer drifts endlessly outward. Instead, it returns more quickly, held by slopes and shallow valleys that begin to take shape in the darkness. You sense a quiet intimacy returning to the journey, a feeling of being guided rather than simply carried. Low hills emerge on either side of the tracks, their forms suggested by the way the night deepens and lightens in slow gradients. The openness of the moor recedes behind you, set down gently, just as the city once was. What replaces it is not confinement, but structure, a landscape that offers subtle definition without urgency. Water reappears more clearly now. Streams trace thin, reflective lines through the darkness, crossing beneath the tracks and slipping away again. Their presence is marked by soft changes in sound, a quiet murmur rising briefly before dissolving back into the steady cadence of the train. Mist continues to drift through the low ground, but here it gathers in more deliberate shapes. It settles along the slopes, pools near the tracks, then lifts slowly, guided by the contours of the land. When the train's lights touch it, the mist reveals fleeting impressions of grass, stone, and water before retreating once more. Inside the carriage, the calm remains, deep and settled. The long passage across the moor has done its work. Bodies are loose and heavy now, breathing slow and regular. Even the small sounds of the train feel muted, absorbed by the shared stillness. The route begins to curve more frequently. Each bend introduces a gentle sway, a rocking motion that feels almost deliberate, as though designed to encourage rest. You feel the movement through your body rather than observing it, your awareness drifting inward as the train continues. The land grows more textured. Slopes rise higher. Valleys narrow slightly, guiding the tracks through quiet corridors shaped by ancient water and ice. You imagine glens opening and closing around the route, their forms lost to darkness, but felt through motion and sound. At intervals, the train passes through shallow cuttings where rock stands close to the tracks. The sound sharpens briefly, echoing softly off stone, then smooths again as the space opens. These moments pass without emphasis, gentle punctuation in the long sentence of the journey. You sense history here, not through monuments or markers, but through the shape of the land itself. This is ground that has been crossed for centuries, shaped by weather, by time, by quiet persistence. The train follows paths that feel inevitable, as though any other route would have been unthinkable. As the night deepens, the presence of water becomes more pronounced. A loch lies nearby, long and narrow, running parallel to the tracks for a time. Though mostly unseen, it announces itself through openness, through the way the air feels broader, cooler. The train moves alongside it with care, respecting the stillness. Occasionally, a break in the clouds allows moonlight to spill across the water. The reflection appears briefly, a pale ribbon stretching into darkness, then fades again as the clouds close. These moments feel like quiet gifts, offered without expectation. The train approaches a small station, one of several scattered along this remote stretch. The platform emerges softly from the night, illuminated by a handful of lights. A sign stands beneath them, its lettering catching the glow. The train slows, pauses briefly, then continues on. The station returns to silence as quickly as it appeared. Beyond the station, the land begins to open toward a wider valley. You feel the space expand, the slopes drawing back slightly, allowing the train to move more freely. The air carries a subtle change now, a hint of movement that suggests the presence of broader water and lower ground ahead. You are approaching Glenfinnan, though it does not announce itself yet. The approach is gradual, respectful, allowing the land to reveal itself at its own pace. The train continues steadily, never rushing, never lingering too long. Your awareness remains soft and unfocused. Thoughts arise rarely now, and when they do, they carry no narrative. They drift through like distant echoes, leaving no trace. The sensation of being carried is complete, effortless. The night outside feels layered, rich with quiet detail. Hills, water, mist, and sky blend into one another, forming a continuous landscape rather than separate elements. The train moves through it as though along a thread woven carefully through fabric. As the route gently descends, you sense that a broader valley lies ahead. The rhythm of the rails remains unchanged, but the anticipation of a new chapter settles quietly in the background, not as alertness, but as gentle awareness. You remain deeply at rest as the train continues toward Glenfinnan, guided by land that holds memory and silence in equal measure. The train continues toward Glenfinnan with no change in pace, no announcement of significance. It does not need to declare where it is going. The land already knows, and the night accepts it quietly. The valley broadens now, opening into a deeper, more expansive space. You feel it immediately, the way the air seems to stretch, the way sound travels a little farther before returning. Hills rise on either side, gentler in form, their slopes softened by darkness and mist. The sense of enclosure fades, replaced by something wider, calmer. Water lies close again. You sense it before you see it, a still presence resting within the valley. A loch spreads quietly alongside the tracks, its surface smooth and dark, holding the night without reflection. The train moves beside it with care, as though unwilling to disturb its rest. Mist drifts low across the ground, gathering in thin layers near the water's edge. It moves slowly, deliberately, untroubled by the passing train. When the lights touch it, the mist glows faintly, revealing just enough of the land to suggest its shape before dissolving once more into shadow. Inside the carriage, the world has narrowed to essentials: the gentle sway, the steady rhythm beneath the floor, the warmth of the seat supporting your body completely. Breathing is slow now, unforced, deep, and even. There is no effort in staying awake, no effort in letting go. Both feel equally distant. The train curves gently, following the natural line of the valley. Each bend introduces a subtle rocking motion that travels through the carriage, through your body, easing muscles further into rest. The movement feels intentional, as though designed to guide you gently toward stillness. Ahead, the outline of the Glenfinnan Viaduct emerges not as a sight, but as a sensation. The land opens beneath the tracks. The air changes. There is a brief feeling of lightness, of openness below, even before the sound beneath the wheels shifts. As the train begins to cross the viaduct, the rhythm softens. The sound becomes hollow and resonant, echoing gently into the wide valley below. Beneath you, unseen in the darkness, the River Finnan moves steadily, continuing its quiet journey through stone and shadow. The crossing is smooth, unhurried. Stone arches pass beneath the train, one by one, each marked only by a subtle change in sound. There is no sense of height, no need for awareness. The train feels suspended, carried forward as effortlessly as a thought drifting through a sleeping mind. Beyond the viaduct, the land gathers itself again. Slopes rise gently. The valley narrows just enough to hold the sound close. The sense of passage fades, replaced by continuity. The train resumes its familiar rhythm, steady and reassuring. You no longer follow the landscape closely. Details soften, shapes blur. The world outside becomes impression rather than image, movement, darkness, quiet. Your awareness drifts inward, guided by the rhythm that has carried you this far. Time loosens completely now. There is no before and after, no distance remaining to measure. The journey exists only as motion, only as presence. The destination no longer matters. The train will continue whether you observe it or not. The carriage remains warm and still. No one moves. No one speaks. Even the smallest sounds feel distant, absorbed into the deep calm that fills the space. The night holds everything gently, without demand. Outside, the highlands rest. Hills, water, and sky blend seamlessly into one another, forming a quiet, unbroken whole. The train moves through it like a slow breath, in and out, in and out, steady and sure. Your body is fully supported now. The seat carries your weight. The air carries your breath. The rhythm carries your awareness, easing it lower, softer, slower. There is nothing more to notice, nothing more to follow. The journey has done its work. The train continues into the night, and you are free to rest as deeply as you wish, knowing you are carried safely onward, without effort, without thought. As our journey comes to a gentle close, allow yourself to drift deeper into rest. If you enjoyed traveling with me tonight, you're warmly invited to like this video, share it with a fellow traveler, and subscribe to the channel for more calming journeys like this one. New travel sleep stories are released every week, always waiting for you when you're ready to unwind. Until next time, rest well and travel peacefully.